Hi, my name is Dana Ali and I'm here to present my action research project. It's the effects of Flipgrid on students' language production. The table of contents, we're going to talk about several things in the introduction, then my action plan, the results, and a discussion, the resulting action at the end. Introduction. So what is Flipgrid? For those of you that don't know, Flipgrid is a platform where students can post spoken responses. They may or may not show their face. They can cover up their face with an emoji. They can use it as a whiteboard. They can screencast now. If they want to present a PowerPoint like I am doing here, they can do the same thing on Flipgrid, but they have a time limit of 10 minutes. Originally, Flipgrid was created as a social learning platform for students to interact one another socially, but in my classroom I have been using it for academic oral presentations. So I teach a dual immersion classroom of 6th graders. Many times they lack confidence. About half of my class, if not more, lack confidence in their proficiency because Spanish is a second language for them. So I think using this platform, it seems as if it would help them because they get to script their response before recording it, and they can re-record as many times as they wish until they have a response that they're happy about. And then they share that. My research question is the following: will incorporating the use of Flipgrid, of the Flipgrid platform in my classroom increase students' participation and use of the Spanish language? The purpose of this study is to determine if Flipgrid provides students a safer environment to share their thoughts by expressing them in their second language. Often students feel intimidated and challenged when having to present their thoughts in Spanish in front of the entire class, and even so in small groups as well. I want to find out if incorporating Flipgrid will encourage additional practice of Spanish by the production of student response to my academic questions, as well as their responses to one another, because they can respond to one another. Okay. By utilizing Flipgrid in the classroom or at home, students' confidence in regards to the use of Spanish language will increase. Students will be more willing to share their thoughts and respond to each other's ideas in Spanish, knowing that they have the time to script out their responses before recording them. Another factor that will increase student confidence in their Spanish speaking abilities is their ability to re-record their responses if needed. So here's my literature review. I read about three different sources. I'm not going to read every word. You can see it when I submit this PowerPoint attached, but I found several different things. Flipgrid has a K-12 integration guide for second language learners, where I got this information from, and it really just explains how it helps different grade levels. So they divide them up in lower grade elementary and then upper grade elementary 3 to 5th, and then I quoted mostly how it helps middle school students, and it's everything that I just said previously, and it helps their confidence when they can script out what they're going to say and re-record it as many times as they wish to do so. Also, up here, Michelle Bartlett from eLearn Magazine says that using a video style discussion forum such as Flipgrid helps students get to know each other better, as well as increase communication efficiency by showing body language and facial expressions, as well as tone of voice. And here, I got this information here from a research paper from a Master's of Arts students from St. Catherine University. And they talked about graduate students researched the use of Flipgrid in their classroom, and they definitely saw an increase in student engagement by using this platform. Okay, so here's my method and action plan for this research project. My participants. So for this research project, I was only able to study my own 6th grade dual immersion classroom because no other dual immersion classrooms at the moment of the study were using Flipgrid in their classroom. Now with distance learning, because of the COVID-19 lockdown, I have been asked to train more dual immersion teachers and more English only teachers on Flipgrid at my school site. And so now more classrooms are using Flipgrid because of necessity. My dual immersion class consists of 17 female students and 13 male students. 56% of them are Hispanic, 22% are white, 7% Filipino, 12 Asian, 3 African American, 40% are Spanish language learners. So about half of my class, there's no Spanish spoken at home, and I only have 3% with disabilities. In this class, there are a total of 12 Spanish language learners who are not yet proficient and need scaffolds. Therefore, finding a way for these students to increase their writing and written and spoken Spanish production is imperative. My instruments were principal and parent consent forms, pre and post test, and student survey on Qualtrics using a Likert scale. My design, so for my research design, I had principal and parent receive the consent forms. Research was conducted from January through March. It was intended to be conducted for a longer period of time, the entire semester, so into April, but then we went on lockdown, I believe March 16th, and schools were closed, so it was cut short. It's quasi-experimental, non-equivalent control group. Groups were randomly assigned. It was more on a volunteer basis of which students would like to use Flipgrid for the post-test and which students would just wanted to go a traditional route with their post-test. I introduced and taught students how to use Flipgrid. I used it with the entire class a couple of times for very informal practice exercises. They all had the opportunity to try it out for a couple assignments. The treatment, about half of the 6th grade of dual immersion students in my class chose to use Flipgrid for their oral presentations for the post-test. And then the comparison group chose not to. They just wanted to do a traditional whole class presentation for the post-test. There also was a student survey administered asking their opinions and feelings about the benefits of using Flipgrid for oral presentations in my class. The procedure: principal and parent consent forms go home. Principal and parent consent forms received just a couple days later. They had a pre-test, which was an oral presentation that all the students gave in front of the entire class. Then I showed them Flipgrid and how to use it. We had a couple of exercises, informal practice exercises, so they could get experience with the platform. Then I asked who would like to use Flipgrid for their next formal oral presentation, and I got the experimental group from there, and then the controlled group, and then the rest were the comparison group. And so then there was the treatment, then the post-test, then at the end I gave a student attitude survey, and then I analyzed the data. And here are the results. The majority of students feel more comfortable delivering oral presentations on Flipgrid versus in front of the entire class. majority of students would recommend Flipgrid to other students. Student delivery of presentation scored higher overall when using Flipgrid. There's a strong positive correlation between using Flipgrid and higher presentation score. No correlation between using Flipgrid and project completion and delivery. These are this is the data of the treatment group. So these are the students that chose to use Flipgrid for their post-test. As you can see, there's a 16% increase in their pre-test and post-test scores overall when comparing the means of those scores. And the data of the comparison group, when comparing the means of the pre-test and post-test scores, there's only a 1% increase. This is their this is the data from the survey, the Qualtrics survey. Gender, I have more females than males, and then most of my students speak English. The home language is English rather than Spanish, and there was no one that spoke Tagalog. Qualtrics survey data, if they like using Flipgrid in my classroom, and as you can see, many of them agree or strongly agree or somewhat agree. Very few disagree with the use of Flipgrid. Finally, the discussion. So the resulting action. There's a strong correlation between higher scores of spoken presentation and the use of Flipgrid. The majority of students report liking using Flipgrid for oral presentations. There is not enough time to determine if Flipgrid does consistently have a positive impact on oral presentation performance. We will continue to use Flipgrid in my classroom. The implications: more targeted research is needed to confirm that Flipgrid does, in fact, have a positive effect on student oral language production. A larger sample size of students should be included in future research. I'd like to be able to include more dual immersion students in this study if I were to do it again, which I probably will, because I told my vice principal about this, and it's something he'd like me to continue to study. So probably more dual immersion students and across different grade levels. And I'd like to develop a plan to minimize threats of validity. So the threats to validity are the following. The internal threats are history. The setting might be disturbed by unplanned events such as fire alarm, lockdowns, announcements, class phone ringing, pullouts, RSP, and unexpected class visitors. As our school does operate on an open door policy and we get visitors from different schools, our principals walk in whenever they wish to do so. So I usually teach with my classroom door open just because I find it less disruptive if someone were to come in. The students don't really notice it if the classroom doesn't open. People just walk in. I don't even notice it sometimes. Instrumentation, since the pre and post tests are different, there's a chance that they might vary in difficulty for different students, which can impact results. External threats to validity, interaction effective testing. Students may become aware of the study and its purposes, and this awareness may impact the results. And here are my references. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.